This week in news, Dean recaps the showcases that happened over the week. Extra, extra, hear all about it.
Hello, guys, and welcome to the podcast where shit happens on the regular. I'm the Dean of Games, and if you are on Twitter or Twitch, you can find me at the Dean Slater. Normally, I'm joined by twitch.tv/LMJ the Hitman, but Landen could not join me today, because if you caught our live stream reactions, or specifically my live stream reaction, for the reaction to the Summer Games Fest, you'll find that his computer blew up essentially. So it's just yours truly. We actually waited until Sunday, when this podcast is supposed to come out, to actually so that way we could give him some time to get his computer working, and it just didn't happen. So I'm actually recording this right after my Sunday stream, which ends on Monday morning. So this is actually a day late already, and hopefully I can get it out by Monday night, but it might be Tuesday morning when I get it out. So it is what it is. You can find specific highlights of those reactions, or reaction, I guess, on youtube.com/the XofPlays, which you can also find this podcast on. Hopefully we can get things fixed for at least the Nintendo showcase. Pretty much all the other showcases are done at this point. This is Extra Extra, your weekly gaming news podcast, covering the news leading up to Sunday, June 12th, 2022. Of course, this is actually a little after that. Sorry about that, guys. And if you like us, you can go to patreon.com/thebriefingroom. Let's get to some news. Alright? So Summer Games Fest. Well, before I get into the recap, let me kind of give my impressions of some of the showcases. There are several I didn't watch. I didn't watch the film festival people. I didn't watch their showcase. I didn't watch. There's a couple I didn't watch. The ones I watched were Summer Game Fest, Dave the Devs, Devolver Digital, and Xbox/Bethesda. So Summer Game Fest, wah wah. I think more highly of it than some other people do. I wasn't necessarily I was disappointed that there was no bigger games, but I'm not like, those games looked shitty. They were alright. I hated that Last of Us and Call of Duty, if you put those two sections together, they made a quarter of the show. That is way too long for any game. They basically played an entire fucking level of Call of Duty. And then, for as long as Last of Us was, they really didn't show a whole lot. They showed a trailer that was already leaked of the remake, which I realized the show was planned well before, or whatever. but I'll get into it, but like they didn't show a whole lot of Last of Us, and yet The Last of Us was fucking 15 to 20 minutes. That's crazy to me. Day of the Devs, I really enjoyed that showcase. It was much, much better paced. They had the developers talk about it a little bit while also showing the games, and they showed a lot of games in half the time. And we'll get to those too. Devolver Digital, they always do like this fun little story while they're showing the trailers. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This one I think worked better than previous years, but it's still one of those things I almost would rather just see the stuff. But you know, it is what it is. It still was a very good show. Xbox Bethesda, man, they blew everyone else out of the water. I know there's a lot of people that are poo-pooing the Xbox Bethesda show. I have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. It was well paced. There was obviously a couple places where they were slow. But overall they showed a lot of games, and they're all games that are within the next 12 months is what they said. And they had some bangers in there. They probably had the biggest names out of the other showcases. So I don't know what all the poo-pooing is about that showcase. I think it had some pacing issues, but overall I think it's the best out of all of them. So let's take a look at the Summer Game Fest. Let's recap that real quick. So they started off with Street Fighter 6 and revealing Guile. I'm not really into the fighting game community, so I can't really speak a whole lot on this, but I like that they're bringing characters that people enjoy. Let people enjoy video games, right? You know, Aliens. So Aliens Dark Descent is something they showed off. It's based on the second movie. So you're fighting off the xenomorph hordes. I don't know. Really, it seems to be. I don't really know what this game is. It's top down, so I don't know if it's. I don't know if it's like a actual shooter, if it's more strategy. I don't know. But you know, Aliens is a cool franchise, so we'll see what they have to work with in that sandbox. Next is a game. It's probably one of the bigger games that people have been looking at. It's made by former Dead Space developers, and it's called the Callisto Protocol. And they showed some gameplay, and there is some gruesome deaths in that. Let me tell you. If you like body horror, I would check out that trailer. Then they went into modern Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and this is where it starts to really slow down in the show. They, like I said, they showed almost an entire campaign mission. It starts off with her talking about Call of Duty. And then goes into the level, and then she's talking about Call of Duty again. It was just like, we need to pick this up, guys. You know, I know Call of Duty's a big game, you know, money maker, in like 4 months it was the highest selling game last year. But like, come on, guys. People know what they're getting with Call of Duty. You don't need to spend, I think it was 12 minutes. You don't need to spend 12 minutes talking about Call of Duty. We know what we're getting with that. Flashback 2, which is a sequel to a game from 30 years ago. I don't know much about Flashback, so I can't really say much about Flashback 2. It looked interesting enough. We'll see. It's supposed to come out this year, and then Nintendo Switch version is next year. Witchfire is one that I have written down as something that caught my eye. I know some people were like, it is what it is. I think it looked pretty cool. It's like, it's kind of like Doom, but more medieval style. So I think that was pretty cool. And then Fort Solace was an interesting one to have in this show. And I say that not because I didn't think it looked interesting. I say that because, as I mentioned before, former Dead Space people are working on the Callisto Protocol, and then there is a Dead Space remake coming out. It might be actually a reboot rather than a remake, but and then this looks very similar to those games, and it's like, you already had Callisto Protocol. Adding this Fort Solace, as you know, it didn't meet what the Callisto Protocol was, and because it was in the same show, it kind of, that made it fall a little bit more flat. Routine, I thought, was fascinating. I loved the 1960s futuresque style, sci-fi style. I thought that was really cool. It looks kind of it looks like it's kind of it's definitely sci-fi horror, but it looks like it's almost like a psychological horror, which I think is interesting with a sci-fi genre, so we'll see what that one looks like. There's Outriders DLC they announced, called World Slayer. It looks fine. It's Outriders, which took the world by storm for a very short time. Nothing really came of it. Similar to Fall Guys, which you guys know I love, and I'll be talking about here in a little bit. But, you know, it is what it is. Stormgate, I also thought was interesting. It's like a real-time strategy sci-fi game. I thought it looked fascinating. I'm interested. Let's see where it goes. Highwater, I'm also interested in. I have that written down as well as something that I'm keeping my eye on. It essentially is, the world's flooded, for whatever reason. Probably climate change. So you're now living in this world where a lot of stuff is flooded, and you're basically living in a raft, and you float around to different stores, and that are still above water, and try to live, essentially. We'll see what that one looks like. American Arcadia, again, a very, I think it's probably more 70s, but it's very 1960s, 1970s. Style. I think it's interesting. It's kind of like the Truman Show. It's a 2.5D scroller, side scroller, I should say. So I'm interested. Let's see where that goes. I want to see more of that. Goat Simulator 3. I only played a little bit of Goat Simulator. I understood why people enjoyed it. It was fun enough, but there wasn't enough to keep me going. Never tried Goat Simulator 2. In fact, I don't know that I even knew Goat Simulator 2 was a thing. And I'm definitely not really interested in Goat Simulator 3. And it is what it is. Midnight Suns is interesting. I would be more interested in it if it wasn't... I don't know about this game. Don't know. I haven't seen much on the gameplay, so that's what's keeping me. I'm sure there is gameplay. Doesn't sound like this game is anything unknown. But it certainly looks interesting. The bad guy has brainwashed some of the heroes, and like Hulk and Venom and Scarlet Witch, so it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. That was there. Neon White. This one is a card-based shooter. It was shown off at a Nintendo Direct sometime, I think, earlier this year. And it will be coming out later this month. So we'll see how that looks. Midnight Fight Express gameplay. And I guess they have a demo at the event that some people were invited to. I was not. But yeah, it's the best way to describe it is the way I've seen a lot of people describe it, which is like John Wick. It takes place on a train though, or there's a bunch of scenes that have trains on it, so 10 out of 10, best game of the year. I don't know how to pronounce this. Honkai? I'm gonna say it's Honkai. Star Rail. It's been shown a few times before. This is from MiHoYo, which is the people that make Genshin Impact. I'm sure it's going to be not super different. I'm sure there's going to be differences, but it's not going to be terribly different than Genshin, I would imagine. Despite taking place in more of a sci-fi setting. It also has a train in it, so 10 out of 10, best game. Zenless Zone here, Zenless Zone 0, so ZZZ. Also MiHoYo. It's I don't really know. I don't really know what really is the difference between this and the other game, if I'm being honest. It doesn't look as sci-fi, but it's... I don't know. As you can tell, I'm not super interested in it, despite there being a train. 10 out of 10. Best game of the year. They had, what was next? Yeah, so next they had more about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. And they showed off that a playable character is, of course, Casey Jones. If you weren't if you've seen all this stuff and you didn't think Casey was going to be a playable character, I don't know where you've been, what rock you've lived in, but get out of there. The housing market sure is rough, but there's no need to live under a rock. There's places for you to go. There's plenty of loving people that can help you out. You just need to know where to look. I don't know where I was going with that whole bit. Oh, also, Casey Jones, side note, also the name of a famous engineer. 10 out of 10, best game. Super People. This is like a battle royale. It has some of the aspects of Overwatch. So we'll see. The characters, there's something about the characters in Super People that just looked off to me, and I don't know if that's just a me thing or if other people felt that way too. But yeah, not something I'm super interested in. They showed off some of One Piece Odyssey. It's One Piece. I don't know what it says. It's a JRPG, so I don't really know. I'd have to see more of it to really know. I'm interested in the IP, but I'm not sure I'm interested in the game. Metal Hellsinger demo and release date. This game I actually took out of my full highlights on my Twitch channel because it is a rhythm shooter. So you have to shoot to the rhythm of the music playing, and I'm sure there's music in that trailer that was not royalty, not copyright free or whatever. So I was not wanting to I was not willing to risk it on my channel, so I took that completely out. So you'll never, only the people that watched me live on twitch.tv/TheDeanSlater were able to see me react to that. No one else will ever see that. Nightingale. This was an interesting looking one. It's a fantasy steampunk game. It's like an open world survival game. It's interesting looking. I will be keeping my eye out on it. I'm not putting it in I didn't put it in my interested list, but it is something that caught my eye. Warhammer 40,000 Dark Tide. I've never really been a big fan of Warhammer, that franchise at all. So I kind of just checked out a little bit for that one. Layers of Fear remake. Was it really all that long ago that Layers of Fear was made initially? I feel like, let's see. I guess it's been 12 years since Layers of Fear. Still, it seems like it's been so long. Or not that long. It's been longer than it feels like. So it doesn't seem like we'd need to remake it. But, do what you do, Bloober. Gotham Knights, Nightwing. Gotham Knights it started off strong with the advertising, and each trailer that gets put out looks worse and worse. But hey, Nightwing, one of my personal faves of the DC universe. I love how he transitioned from being Batman's sidekick to his own thing, and I think that's neat. And yeah, good for Dick. You gotta love Dick. And then again, they talked about the Last of Us remake and the Last of Us multiplayer. This one, I kind of started getting into it and then stopped myself for this moment right here. What the fuck? Again, it was like, I want to say it was like 17 minutes. It might have been closer to the 15-minute mark. They talked about the HBO show, which I'm becoming less and less interested in because it looks like it's going to be more of a direct, it's looking more and more like a direct translation, and I would rather it be a reimagined version of the Last of Us story. I know a lot of fans are like, no, the Last of Us story is fine. Why did you want it to be? We know the story. Out of all of the mediums, books, TV shows, comic books, blah 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 blah, video games are the closest to movies, and even then, Last of Us is almost closer to a movie than it is a video game as it is. So to translate it into a TV show, it doesn't... It's not going to be that much different, so I wanted them to add a little flair. Apparently, they are having... what's his name? They're having the main two actors in the show in some capacity. Whether it's a new character or not, or new characters or not, is unknown. But it's just that's a whole other issue. They didn't show it. They showed us concept art of the multiplayer. That's all they showed. So they showed a screenshot of the HBO show while talking about it. They showed concept art of the multiplayer and talked about it. And then they showed a trailer that, granted, was leaked, but people had already seen. And then talked about it. There was no reason it needed to be as long as it was. Just like there's no reason that me talking about Summer Game Fest should be this long, but Jeff Keighley has a record of having a hard time keeping up a good pace. It's either front heavy, back heavy, or just not heavy in any capacity, which this was more of that. So we'll see about that. The Day of the Devs, fantastic show, like I said. They had some fun. They did talk to the developers. None of these chats really went longer than they needed to be. So let me talk about some of these. Some of these I don't quite remember, and it's not that they weren't interesting games. It's just, as of right now, it's been several days since I watched it and then rewatched it to make the list, right? And I just don't have great memory. Time flies. You're a fly, and your entire life essentially is on a countdown timer. And you've got to do everything on your bucket list before time runs out. Funny title, great name, awesome concept. Let's see what that's all about. Planet of Lana. I'm trying to remember. I think that might have been the game that kind of gave me Kena Bridge of Spirits, or Kena Bridge of Spirits vibes. Ugh, my foot is caught. There we go. Looks interesting. I'll see what more there is to it. Choo Choo Charles. You drive a train to collect stuff so you can fight off a half spider, half Thomas the Tank Engine creature. Has train in it. 10 out of 10, best game. Escape Academy is a game where you're in a school that teaches you how to do escape rooms. Awesome. I love the concept. I've never actually done an escape room, unfortunately. I love the concept. I'd love to do an escape room at some point. But yeah, that's a great concept. Okay, so a little to the left is kind of like Unpacking, which came out last year, where you're kind of you're basically setting up your new house or whatever. Unlike Unpacking, which was kind of a very vague puzzle, I would say. You had very vague puzzles. This one, the puzzles are clearly set up. Even if the puzzles are a little bit more abstract, they're not, you have an idea of what you're supposed to do. It's just a matter of solving it. They also are planning on having like a daily puzzle thing, and you get badges for doing the daily puzzle, which I think is interesting. And then every now and then, I guess a cat will pop up and try to prevent you from completing it, and you have to start over. So that's interesting. Bear and Breakfast. You are a bear that runs a bed and breakfast. Collect materials and stuff. It's a very interesting looking game. We will see about that. Animal Well reminded me somewhat of the original Metroid, with kind of the way you're traversing, but you're like this blob thing is the difference. And we'll see what that one is like. It looked fun. Naiad. What was Naiad? Naiad, I think, is one of the games I can't quite remember. I feel like I have it on the tip of my brain, but I can't fully grab it. It's just out of reach. Roots of Pacha. It's farming simulator, but you are a caveman in like the Mesoamerica area. So like, interesting. I like that idea. Desta. What was Desta? Desta was like, it's Desta the Memories Between. I think you have like this trauma you're overcoming, which I guess can apply to just about any game. But I believe it was much more psychology focused stuff. I'd have to relook at that. I remember the story idea of it being fascinated, but I can't quite picture what the gameplay looked like on that. Shim. This one was interesting, and we will get into it a little bit more too, because Xbox showed off a very similar looking game. So Shim, you are a shadow that got separated from what you're supposed to be having the shadow of. So you're basically jumping from shadow to shadow, trying to find your person, and helping other shadows get their objects, so you then can go into their shadow and continue your journey and stuff. Looked pretty cool. So we'll see. That I believe Shim also had a train in it. 10 out of 10. Best game. Fox and the Frog, The Demons of a Danshino Island. Yeah, I really don't remember that game. it was part of, I remember it and the next game were part of a publisher that works with Japanese indie devs to get their games translated and so forth in other countries. So that's pretty cool. And then the other one being Goodbye World, which you're a video game designer, and it's looks kind of like a life, almost like a life sim thing. I couldn't fully peg down what the gameplay looks like, but the characters all seem pretty interesting, and we'll see how the story is as well. So that's one to look forward to. Birth was creepy as hell. So you're solving these again, very creepy puzzles, very all like gothic horror style puzzles. And I guess you're trying to get parts to build a person, because it's a dystopia where you're the only person alive anymore, and you want some companionship, I believe is what the concept of the story is. It's nice to see creepy puzzle games every now and then. Usually the creepy stuff is saved for, other genres, so I like to see it in a puzzle game. And then I don't remember how to say goodbye either. So that was the last game on Day of the Devs. Again, they went through all those games pretty quick. They just, they kept good pace. They just kept rolling. They had the developers talk about it, explain their passion and everything, but kept it in a very concise manner. Then we had Devolver Digital, which again, they always do like a story, as I mentioned. This time they decide that it's more profitable to have a countdown than it is to actually do the event, because more people are at the countdown. And so they decide to show trailers during their countdown, and then it's this whole big thing where there's a Nexus event essentially, and it is what it is. First game they showed was Cult of the Lamb, which has been shown before. I don't know where, but it is a cute building simulator, and you're basically creating this cult. And I guess there is some roguelike elements to it as well. So we'll see. It is adorable, and I love it. So Angerfoot is a game. Certainly is a game. A game where you kick people, as Angerfoot should indicate. It was an interesting trailer, and if you're interested in a game where you kick people, look up Angerfoot's trailer. You then had Card Shark, which is playing and cheating at a card game. It's supposed to take place in 18th century France. Then you have The Plucky Squire, which definitely had, I think everyone's mentioned, that's talked about it. It has a twist that you wouldn't expect of it. So it starts off looking like it's going to be kind of like a 2D scroller with almost like mini games to it every now and then. And you're just this plucky squire just doing your thing. And at the very end, he jumps out of his storybook into the real world. Fuck yeah. We'll see what that's about. And then they, obviously with the story that they had, they didn't show very many games. So the last thing on here is Skate Story. it's a very trippy looking skateboarding game. And it's, I don't know if you're on another planet or if you're in like hell or whatever. It's got that kind of aesthetic to it. So we'll see. I haven't played a skateboarding game in forever. It's been a very long time. So, yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Now we have the Xbox and Bethesda showcase, which, like I said, if you haven't watched it, let me do my recap, and you can decide for yourself whether you're on the side of, oh, it's fine, or no, it's not fine. So, they started off with Redfall, which is by Arcane Austin, who did Prey and, I don't remember the other game they did. It looks interesting. You're fighting vampires. It's basically a zombie shooter, but instead of them being zombies, they're vampires. And each person has their own trait. So you have a cryptozoologist that has like these crazy electroshock ability thing. You have like this inventor girl that has a robot that assists. You have another guy, I don't know what his ability is. And then you have the girl they've shown the most time with, who's got special powers, like a telekinesis type thing. Then they went into Hollow Knight Silksong, which is a game that's people have been clamoring for. It was introduced a few years ago, and we haven't heard anything since. And despite the trailer, we still haven't really heard anything. Still no release date, still no... I guess you kind of have a release window, because they said that every game in this showcase is coming out has a release window of 12 months. So it's within the next year, supposedly. So we'll see. Oh, yes. So, High on Life, which is a first-person shooter from the minds that brought you Rick and Morty. Which already is like, okay, so what weird fucked up shit is in this? So, all of your weapons are alive. And yeah, it's quite a ride. If there's one single trailer I recommend you watch, it is the High on Life trailer. It is something else. They announced that Riot Games stuff is coming to Game Pass PC with all of the champions, legends, whatever, agents, whatever you want to say. All of them are unlocked if you have the game through Game Pass PC, which that's a money saver right there. Plague Tale Requiem, it's a sequel to Plague Tale Innocence, which a lot of people were big on. I have not played it. Maybe I will play it. Who knows? Maybe that's something I'll do on stream at some point. But it looked fascinating. It looked, it's got some dark themes to it. Well, so we'll see. Forza Motorsport. So Forza Motorsport looked good. If there's ever a game, if you ever want to just look at a game and see what that piece of hardware that it's on can do, go with any racing game, whether it's Forza on Xbox or Gran Turismo on PlayStation. Those games are always pushing the envelope on what the hardware can do. So I would recommend you check that out if you're interested in that. They have some stuff coming to Flight Simulator for the 40th anniversary, which is a bunch of historic crafts, as well as the Halo Pelican. Overwatch 2 will enter early access on October 4th, is something that they announced. So this this Blizzard, Activision Blizzard acquisition, even though it's not fully gone through, you can see them reaping the benefits with Overwatch 2 and another game on the list. Ara History Untold is a turn-based strategy game. It looks very similar to Civilization. I think it's made by old developers of Civilization, so yeah. Elder Scrolls Online, new expansion, High Isles, is something that is coming soon. Very, very soon. So if you're into Elder Scrolls Online, you can look forward to that. Then you have Fallout 76. Why are they still supporting this game? I don't know. It's having a new expansion called The Pit. So yeah, we'll see how that looks. Forza Horizon 5 is also getting an expansion, which is Hot Wheels themed. That looks cool as hell. Who doesn't want to be driving on an orange track in loops in the sky? Hell yeah. Arc 2, Vin Diesel makes his appearance. So we'll see what that looks like. Arc is a fun enough game. Let's see what Arc 2 looks like. Speaking of kind of gothic and, quite frankly, graphic horror, Scorn. They showed off a gameplay trailer of Scorn, which allegedly is coming out October 21st, which is actually really good timing. I think it's more action than it is horror, but it is in that style. Flintlock Siege of Dawn looked fascinating. It is a third-person action adventure game. It kind of has like the character has like dual axes, but also has like a flintlock pistol. That's the name. And the combat looked really good. I just don't know how good I would be at that combat. Minecraft Legends is an action strategy game. Someone was joking. I saw someone joking on their reaction about it being a Minecraft Pikmin, essentially. Which, if it is, I'm down. I love Pikmin. Pikmin's great. Lightyear Frontier is another game. It is a mech game that's also a farming simulator. Do with that what you will, folks. Gunfire Reborn was also shown off. This is another game that has been known about. It's an action roguelite. It's something. I don't really have a whole lot else to say about this. The Last Case of Benedict Fox is a 2.5D side scroller. It very much reminds me of like a mystery mixed with like Lovecraftian horror, which neat. We'll see what that looks like. As Dusk Falls, this game has been shown off before. It's kind of like, it's not visual novel, but it is video game made to look like, you know, a graphic novel. so to speak. So we'll see how that looks. 8 players can participate in co-op. There's interactive moments that can, they can do a bunch of stuff. Naraka Blade Point. I believe this game is already out, but it's coming to Xbox. So neat. Pentiment. I still don't know how I feel about the visual style of Pentiment. But it's made by Obsidian, who's making a shit ton of games right now. Like, Obsidian right now is the they're the busy studio for Xbox. They're the ones that are keeping Xbox games coming out. Grounded, the 1.0 game is coming out in September, with the story mode. Neat. I love the idea of, Honey I Shrunk the Kids meets The Forest is the kind of vibe I'm getting out of the story mode. I like that idea. Let's go. Ereban Shadow Legacy. This is very much like Shim, from the Day of the Devs thing. Only it's 3D and rather than being like a top-down puzzle, it is like a third-person, almost behind-the-back action game. The combat looks good. The traveling through the shadows it looks interesting. I'll like to see what that looks like and whether or not I could just sneak through the shadows and assassinate rather than go through the whole kit and caboodle of actually fighting. They introduced the last class for Diablo 4, which is a Necromancer class. Hell yeah, let's raise the dead like we raised the roof. Sea of Thieves Season 7 they revealed. You can now customize your captain's quarters and like save your boats and so forth. It's good for them. I like that they're still supporting it even after everything that went on with the initial release. Ravenlock. This is the game I want to talk about. It is coming out next year. It looks to me, people please, it looks to me like Alice in Wonderland. That's what I'm looking for. Looks to me like Alice in Wonderland meets Zelda, meets kind of Minecraft. It's a very interesting combination, to say the least. But I'm all in on this game. Give me Ravenlock now. I want it all. Cocoon is a very interesting one. You're like this moth bug thing, and you are carrying these orbs around and using the orbs to solve puzzles. That's about all I know of that game. Wolong Fallen Dynasty. It's from Team Ninja and Koei Tecmo, and it and from what I understand, it's like it takes place in the Dynasty Warriors universe, I think. One of those Warriors universes. Sorry, let me... there we go. So yeah, we'll see. I enjoyed Hyrule Warriors enough. I've not played any other Warriors game besides that, so we'll see. And then the big two. The really big two. They announced Persona 3 Portable, Persona 4 Golden, and Persona 5 Royal are coming to Xbox and PC Game Pass. Within the next 12 months. And Persona 5 actually comes out on October 21st. Hell yeah. We'll be playing that. And then they talked about, they had Hideo Kojima come on to talk about his game. They didn't really show anything. He was just talking about how excited he is to work with Xbox and their cloud technology. And yeah, that's a big getting Kojima. They might actually start making some moves, possibly, in Japan, where they are woefully lacking behind the others. And good for them. Then you have Starfield. They did some stuff with Starfield. Like Last of Us, I think if they had just kept it tighter, it would have been the perfect show. I think Starfield went on a little too long. I know people have been asking for gameplay, but it was like a lot. They had sections where they stopped talking, or they stopped showing stuff to have Todd Howard talk about what the next section of gameplay looked. They could have cut all of that out, condensed the gameplay trailer to show everything he was talking about anyway, and then I feel like it would have been a much tighter showcase. That is my one drawback, is they kind of fumbled the ending a little bit. And honestly, they could have had Hideo and the Persona stuff a little bit more separated out. I get what they were trying to do. They're like, hey, we're trying to appease the Japanese market, so let's talk about the Japanese stuff we're doing. But it felt very backloaded, I will admit, and they could have just kept it going, and had it separated and had it feel a little bit more spaced out. But overall, I think it's the best showcase out of all the showcases, because it had the bangers, it had overall really good pacing, and it other than Starfield, none of the games took too long. Maybe Forza took a little long, but they did a good job of keeping the show moving. So that's it for that. We are a little long now. I'll see if Landen wants to do post-show before we record the next podcast episode. But for this episode, we're not going to have post-show because it's just me. And you can figure out what I'm playing by going to my Twitch stream, because I am so busy right now, I only play video games when I'm streaming. So if you liked, or even if you didn't like this podcast, make sure to do all of the things like hitting the like button and hitting the bell on youtube.com/the XofPlays, or giving it a high rating on whatever podcast service you use so you can find like-minded people. I brought it up before, but on patreon.com/thebriefing-room, you can financially support the show and get cool rewards as well. That's all from us. Take care.